So let's take a look at the second example, which we have. We watched Mr. Shockey pushing his broken scooter into the sunset. Let's diagram this bad boy and understand exactly how we're going to structure these two participles that I see here. So the first thing is I can see my main sentence, which is we watched Mr. Shockey. So it's going to get a little confusing sometimes because there's so many different verbs happening now. We have the word watched, we got pushing, we got broken. These are all verbs. And so go back to your basics. Find that main verb. And so I know that an ing can't be a verb unless there's some kind of helper with him. And so I have to say like is pushing. Same thing. I can't have this en broken. I could say was broken, has broken, but I can't have broken by itself, which leads me to believe that probably watched is my main verb. That makes sense. And it makes sense because I also have a subject in front of it, we, and I have this direct object, Mr. Shockey. So I'm going to start off by building that basic sentence up here, which is going to be we watched direct object Mr. Shockey. That's a true story. He used to have a little yellow scooter that he would ride to school, like an electric scooter. All right, and then it was stolen. Like all of a sudden, one day it was like he parked it outside of his classroom, out in the parking, like I guess out on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden one day it was missing. And we thought it was a joke that someone had just simply stolen it and then was going to give it back to him, but it never came back. It's not really that funny. Anyway, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a color. Let's go to my favorite orange. So here is this phrase which says pushing his broken scooter into the sunset. Well, this is all describing Mr. Shockey. This is a big old participial phrase, all right? So it's describing Mr. Shockey. It's serving as an adjective. The reason I know it's not a gerund is because I don't have like a noun position. It's not like I'm missing a direct object. I am saying that we watch Mr. Shockey. That's my main sentence. And then I have this adjective describing Mr. Shockey, pushing his broken scooter into the sunset. A gerund, as we saw before, is a noun, and there's not really a noun position that's open, but I definitely have a position for an adjective. So I'm going to build my participle here, and I'm going to connect it back to the noun that's actually doing the action. So it's either we or Mr. Shockey. Those are my two nouns that I have. And we aren't pushing the broken scooter, but Mr. Shockey is. So I'm going to build it here. Remember, a participle comes down and then over because it's part adjective, but it's also part verb. So that word pushing has to touch both sides. So he's just going to bend to that line. And as long as he bends to the line, you made him. So there's our participle, pushing. And then once he turns into a verb, imagine this flat area, this horizontal area is your verb part. And so now that he's turned into a verb, he went from adjective into verb. Now he can do anything a verb wants to do. And so this verb has its own direct object. He's pushing what? Extend that line, scooter. And then it's his scooter. And before this, we would just simply treat the word broken as an adjective. It's a broken scooter. But I also know the word broken is a past participle or a passive participle. It is the passive voice or the past tense of, I guess it's not really the past tense, it's going to be broke, but this is the passive form of break. This is broken. So therefore, I get to do broken right here. It's a broken scooter. And then it's into the sunset. It's not a scooter into the sunset, but it seems like he's pushing it into the sunset. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put that underneath the verb. I'm going to say into sunset, the sunset. So here's this word into, my old preposition. Here's my noun sunset, and then the sunset. So what we've identified here is we have this participial phrase, and I've also included a single participle. Remember, the things we're bringing from this example is that single participles like broken are oftentimes in front of the noun, but an entire participial phrase is often after the noun. It doesn't have to be, as we're going to find, but typically it follows the noun. All right, so that's a good example for number 2. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to doing some examples of diagrams, and then I'll put the explanations online for you. That's the worst ending to a video ever. All right, let's get out of this because it's just disastrous. What an awful ending.